This supposedly is the most underrated caliber, and I'm gonna find out if this gun is actually any good. This is a 22 WMR or a 22 Magnum, depending on what kind of person you talk to. Now, it does require a college degree to fully understand the family of 22 caliber rifles. I'll do my best. The most popular 22 caliber is the 22 long rifle, and this is a 22 Magnum. So this is basically a Magnum version of the 22 long rifle. It's the same size and weight bullet as the 22 long rifle coming out of the 22 Magnum, except the 22 Magnum has more powder pushing the bullet out of the gun. So therefore, said bullet going out of gun is going faster than the 22 long rifle. Therefore, said bullet hits harder and is more powerful, shoots longer, straighter, flatter, etc. Now, there's a whole slew of other 22 caliber weapons, but I'm not going to get into them because I don't really understand them. I've heard a lot of good things about this gun, as well as lots of people saying that this is the most underrated gun. Now, I know I'm going to get a bunch of haters saying that this is not the most underrated caliber, but how do I put this? I don't exactly care. There's several things that go into a good caliber. Now, today I'm not really testing the rifle, I'm testing the caliber. So accuracy, knockdown power are like some of the things that go into a good caliber. Start out, I'm going to do some pretty standard shooting. I'm going to shoot a couple shots at 50 yards. So for the actual gun and optics I have this caliber in, it's a Marlin. That's really all I know about it. And it's bolt action, like you probably saw. And for optics, I have a really cheap Simmons scope and some see-through mount, so I can actually see my iron sights underneath my scope. Optics could definitely use an improvement, but I don't think it's gonna throw off our testing or anything at all. Alright, so I have a target down here at 50 yards, and it's actually a brand new target. I have a couple different types of ammo. I'm going to shoot 3-shot group at each of these red dots here. See how good of a group I can get at 50 yards. Some hollow point hunting ones and some target ones here to see how good of a group I can get. Alright, so we're not only testing the accuracy here. We have these water bottles here. We're going to shoot 3 of them. See how they do in a water bottle. I also have this plated scrap steel here. Now, that's not a 22, but a 22 barely leaves a dent in this stuff. So I want to see what the 22 WMR is going to do to it, because that's really going to tell us about how much power it has in comparison to 22 long rifle. Now, I do want to do a 22 long rifle versus a 22 Magnum video, but that's not really what we're doing. I'm just kind of doing this to see how much power it has. These are water bottles, and it's so cold out right now, they're already half frozen. So these things might be frozen by the time we get to shoot them. And I'm also going to put a camera down here so you can see what's happening there and happening there, obviously. All the ammo I have is like 150 years old, so not exactly modern ammo testing. I have no clue what happened down there. Hopefully, I don't know, I hit where I was aiming. So I'm gonna try these other ones. Who knows? We can only hope I was actually hitting the target for all those shots. I'm gonna shoot those water bottles. I'm also gonna shoot that steel. See how hard this thing hits. Absolutely exploded him. I think that's doing more damage to the water bottles than a regular 22 would. Alright, so the 22 WMR put a pretty big dent in this steel that, like I said, the 22 does not dent at all. And this is another hole from the same gun. That 22 WMR really put a big dent on that. Also put a really big bulge out the back of this steel. Like I said earlier, a 22 long rifle does not put a big dent in that steel. So the 22 WMR definitely has a lot more power than the 22 long rifle. So the 50 yards accuracy and the 50 yards power is pretty good, but now we're going to have to see what longer range is going to do to it. I want to shoot it at 100 yards because I want to know if I have it sighted in dead on at 50, is it going to be dropping too much to shoot at something at 100. So ideally, hopefully it shoots completely flat out to at least 100, so if it's 100 and in, you can just shoot and hold right on. So nothing was absolutely perfect. There was one or two groups where there was 2 or more bullets, actually bullet holes touching each other. And yeah, for 50 yards, pretty good, pretty standard. Everything was pretty normal, and those water bottles, it absolutely like exploded. You could definitely tell that there was dumping a lot of energy into those water bottles. Alright, so this is actually the next day, but I didn't quite finish up yesterday because I ran out of daylight, but today I'm gonna finish. At 50 yards, it's as good as I would expect, but at 100 yards, how much is it dropping? Now, if this thing drops less than 2 or 3 inches at 100 yards, I will be very impressed. I have a target and 3 water bottles out at 100 yards. I'm fixing to see how much this thing drops. I'm hoping it drops 2 inches. I don't know. I haven't even looked at anything to see what it will. Alright, I pushed 3 shots on target. Now, I'm going to try to take out the water bottles. I'm going to hold right on and hopefully I can hit them. Alright, so I hit one water bottle and knocked down the other. Now I was aiming right on it at 100 yards, so that is a good sign. Well, you guys know what happened, and I don't, so let's go see what happened. Okay, so this is very interesting. I have one shot here, one shot here, and one shot here. So, accuracy-wise, I mean, technically you could hit a fat groundhog at 100. Accuracy-wise at 100, this is not doing too good at all. But trajectory-wise, this thing is shooting just as dead on at 100 as it is doing at 100 or at 50. So this is basically shooting right now the same place that it is at 50. So I'm gonna shoot 3 shots at this smaller dot so I can get more precise point of aim to see if I can get a tighter group at 100. But as of this looks like that bullet's not dropping any at all. And I can go online and look up how much the bullet's gonna drop, but just doing this is more interesting because I, get to do it a little better. Plus, I find that sometimes what they tell you online, how much it's gonna drop, is not true at all. This accuracy is not very good, but when you look at the water bottles, 2 of them that weren't knocked over are completely split wide open, and I held dead on them. So really no drop going on, I don't believe. But yeah, completely destroy these water bottles, hit both of them, no problem. I could have hit the other one, but it was already knocked over. So I'm not really sure what's going on here. Alright, so drop-wise, at 100 yards, I don't think it drops at all. Like, literally, it's shooting flat. Now, I do want to test it at, like, further ranges, but from 50 to 100, anywhere out to 100 yards, it's shooting flat, I think. So, accuracy at 100 yards is not the best. You technically could still shoot a coyote in the head at 100 yards. It's pretty good, but it's not precision accuracy like half-inch group at 100 yards. So I'm going to shoot 3 more shots and see if I can get a better group, because I'm not perfect, and this is a 9-power scope, so I can't get like really on that bullseye very good. So I think I should be able to squeeze a little bit more accuracy out of this gun and this shooting setup, which is not the best at all. I know I pulled that shot a little bit. Now I'll shoot the water bottle. I mean, it absolutely smacks that water bottle at 100 yards every time. So, I really don't know what to say. Okay. Well, this is kind of crazy, actually. I just shot this group at 100, and I have a shot here. I have 2 shots here. One. That group there is almost as good as one at 50. And I mean, dude, I even pulled that one. Now, is it on the bullseye? No, I think my gun must have gotten knocked off, because I'm shooting kind of right. So I'm not really sure what's going on there, but like actually, for these Remington ones, they were shooting a little bit to the right at 50. So I think 100 just kind of accentuated that. It's actually shooting higher than 50. But I mean, it's still shooting plenty good enough. I mean, you could almost headshot a, that accuracy, with that group, you could move it a little bit and head shoot a squirrel at 100 yards, which is pretty dang impressive. I know they're like the 17 HMR can do that. Pretty much this only gun's competitor in its category is the 17 HMR, which I don't have. I'd like to get someday and test that, but for now I have this and I'm testing this. So accuracy test, it definitely passed. That put a really good group down there at 100 yards and basically no drop. So at 100 yards you can expect about quarter size accuracy, and you can also expect no drop. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good, actually. I know at 150 is when it starts to drop, really. I think anything past 130 it really starts to drop. I'm not really going to test that. I'm not testing the long range capabilities. What I'm concerned about is if it's in or under 100 yards. What I'm worried about is if it's at 100 yards or in, if I can hold dead on and still hit it. And this gun definitely can. Alright, so I just saw a red squirrel, and I know I'm trying to kill a gray squirrel or something. But what does a 22 Magnum do to a red squirrel? I wouldn't mind finding out. So we may just blast a red squirrel with this thing today. Is the gun good? Absolutely. Is the gun amazing? Maybe. I just don't know. I just don't know. Is this gun underrated? Absolutely, 100%. I don't see why more people don't use it and talk about it, because this gun, 100% underrated, and it's as good or better maybe even than a 17 HMR. Again, I don't have a 17 HMR to really compare them side to side, but from what I've seen, I think this gun is just as good as a 17 HMR, just made for a little bit different usage.